So, hi Susan, so we are live now.
Hi, how are you today, Erica?
Sorry everybody, first of all, who is watching. We were meant to start like 15 minutes ago. I had like problems with my computer. I had to reboot it and it was very slow. So here we are, 15 minutes late, but nevertheless as joyful and as present and yeah, just in great anticipation of what wants to come up to share with you, dear Susan. Hi. Hello. Greetings.
Yes. Hi. Hi. Greetings. So you had your first class and it's going deep and it sounds wonderful.
Yes, it's the first week of my 6 weeks online Wyrding Way Destiny Weaving Soul Journey. It's based on the 6 different natural threads or cycles from nature. First week is around grounding. So we had also a fantastic chat with one of my teachers of the womb healing apprenticeship. I'm participating for 13 months. And I invited her because I learned from her. I will show you the 7 seeds labyrinth. It's a very old tradition. It is said like it's 4,000 or 6,000 years old. And it's called 7 seeds labyrinth because it really goes back like 7 generations. And you can either go from the outside in or from the inside out. And I have got like the urge at the moment, or what is expressing to me is to weave the golden thread of abundance to the 7 generations which came before us and who come after us. So I've invited her on Tuesday on a live call where she explained how she learned the labyrinth. She was telling this great story of Inanna, who is descending into 7 different worlds to meet her sister, dark sister, I cannot pronounce it, Ishankiel, probably wrongly pronounced. And there's like
Ishkagel.
Ishtangel?
Ishkagel.
Ishkagel. Thank you. Ishkagel.
Ishkagel.
So the main wisdom around that is about descent, and Inanna, who is like this proud queen and always busy, and she learns to descend really deeply, and she has to lose all different things like her crown, her mantle, like her cloak, almost everything to come to the core of her own essence. And it was very fascinating going deep like that. And an invitation for 9 participants who are traveling on this Wyrding journey, which is all about grounding ourselves in our essence and what wants to emerge to us in this 6 weeks. And we're also doing vision boards based on our intentions of sharings. And we had our first call on Friday, which was really deep, seeing this vision boards and looking at the patterns and symbols arising. And that's a lot of healing happens. Like we are meeting now as well, when people commit and they're meeting and they're sharing. And some people see something different in those vision boards and the symbolism. And it's fascinating what is emerging by holding space and witnessing what is arising in our very individual, unique soul journeys. And so I feel very blessed and yeah, very joyful that 9 women have said yes to this journey. Yes, very exciting.
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. And it was funny this morning because I do my weekly rune draw And the runes that came up were Elhaz and Othila and Ansuz. And it was very much about the spirit of the tree, Yggdrasil, and how the tree holds stillness for all of us people in the 9 worlds, going about our business and our day. And we're so busy that we forget to stop and look inside.
Mm.
And that's what your course is all about. And when we go inside, we also have the potential to talk with our ancestors through our DNA connection.
Yes.
And the tree represents also the ancestry, right?
Yes.
So the synchronicity was amazing. And then Ansuz came in reflecting the spirit of it. And when I drew Ansuz, he came out of the pouch reversed, but I knew he wasn't to stay that way. It was just a message to people who have forgotten their spiritual roots.
Mm. Oh, and there she was, speaking about people who forgot their spiritual roots. Oh, well, we just relax and breathe. Take some conscious breaths until Susan comes back to us again.
For anybody watching, we
Oh,
temporarily
hi.
lost connection, so bear with
Hi.
us.
There you are again.
We
You were just like briefly gone.
Yes.
You were talking about...
We lost connection.
You
But
were,
for those...
yeah. You were just talking about the roots.
That we need. We were talking about the roots and making connection with our own inner spirit.
Yes.
And through making connection with our own...
We seem to both have problems today with the connection. Took me about 15 minutes to reboot my computer. Hello again, Susan.
Again.
The technical word seems to not be rooted today very well. It keeps going.
It's like the winds come up and shake loose from the branches. But that's okay. Sometimes you need to fly free too. It's how you grow your wings.
Speaking about the winds, that's my card of the Mystical Shaman Oracle card today. The wind. The wind is blowing. So sometimes we are not that connected to our roots, you were saying. And that's what the rune reverse was saying.
Sometimes the wind needs to shake us loose, I think, so that we can drift a little bit, like the seeds with the little parachutes, and they drift and they land wherever the wind carries them. And they're totally dependent upon the wind for where they will end up planting themselves. Yeah. Because when we get too rooted, we don't take risks, we don't take chances.
That's so true as well. That's so true. Thank you.
So, but I just wanted to share a little bit too. I've been gardening, and it's about observing the relationship with the earth, with the soil. And I had let my garden lay fallow last year, so I had to clean the whole thing out. It was all full of weeds, and I've done it all by hand. And I'm paying attention to how the roots go underneath and they weave the roots weave together from so many different kinds of plants, and they thrive. One kind of plant helps another. So the grasses will weave a really dense root so that the other seeds with a deep taproot can go down straight like an oak tree. Or we have this weed that we call dock that has a deep taproot like a carrot. And it's just wonderful to see how the support is in nature. You know, everything in nature is woven together and integrates. And people have, you know, many people are making their connections with nature again, but for generations, we didn't do that. We got uprooted from our heritage, from our hereditary religions, you know, our gods, our goddesses, the tree of life. And so the work you and I and others are doing is so important to come back to this, because the tree is an entire map. I mean, we have, in the West, we have Reiki and we have the chakras, and all of this came from the Indian, the yoga, all of it relates, but the tree is also related to the chakras. All of the worlds, we have it inside our own body. Exactly. And it's all about how we connect with our spirit through our own body. And it's so important. So whether we're rooting or whether we're flying free, like these little seeds that are trusting nature to get them to where they have to go, it is such a wonderful metaphor for life. So I'm just like so excited today to be sharing this with you.
Yeah. And what did the gardening brought up with you? Because this is like such a great practical exercise where we literally work with nature, and if we are conscious about it, then we have the whole natural cycles all there, and also working with our hands. And is there anything like what has emerged to you by doing the gardening?
I find a lot of inner work in embracing the parts of myself that I had disowned because they weren't worthy enough. And everything within me is now worthy enough to bring this joy into my life. Wow. It's like we have inner children, Carl Jung, and the inner children, the wounded children, the frustrated children, all of these inner children, we all have some variety of it. But all of these inner children now, they're coming together with me, and we're planting this garden and we're watching the seedlings grow, and I get to nurture, I get to mother these little seedlings. You know, my son left home, so my nest is empty of children, but I have seedlings. So I have these little seedlings thriving, and in the next day or two, they're going to get put in these beds that I've been working on all week. And it's just seeing the success and the thriving of it. And it's not only that, but I've been working with Vanadis.
What's that?
Freya, to bring the energy to the Freya, Vanadis, the lady of the land, to bring energy to the plants.
Vanadis, I cannot hear that very well acoustically. Is that a goddess? Vanes? Can you maybe write this in the chat? Who is that? Vanadis, another of Freya's Haiti. And what is Haiti? I don't know what it is.
It's the Norse word for name. The Norse word for name. It's another one of Freya's names.
Oh, okay. So Haiti is a name.
Yes.
Okay.
Like you are called, you are named. I do a lot of research as I write, so I pick up a lot of little odds and ends. And I just don't always know who has them and who doesn't. But the energy that came was an absolute blessing for the land, and it was a blessing for the garden. And she showed me how to run energy through my hands for the plants.
Mm.
So it's kind of fun because I'll be running energy for the plants at night, and it feels like the sun is coming in.
Can you maybe show us this practice? Is it possible to do it now online?
Yeah, I'll just show you as if I had a plant here. I'll stand up and through the palms, just running your hands over the energy, making connection with the energy of the plants. And a little bit, your hands are flat, like right over the plants flat. And then running sort of like that figure 8 with both hands so that you're doing, and it's just very slow and very purposeful. And I have energy coming in my root and in my crown, coming into and going out my hands for these little beings.
Mm.
If I had a better video, I could show you better. But
or do you say something to the plants?
Go over the whole.
Do you say something?
Sing, Feo, 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 grow from your root deep and proud and tall, feo. Put down your root deep, grow straight and tall, be fruitful, Feo, Feo, Feo. You get it? A little bolder in there.
Oh, I love it. And you're singing Feo, that's the first rune. And look, I've got the Feo here inside of the labyrinth, like the very first, like the origin, standing for wealth and abundance.
Abundant. I want my garden to be abundant.
Yes. And nature is already so abundant and so powerful to connect with all different senses and with it, and it's like a blessing. And now it can bless us back with this abundant garden. And I love your shirt with the rainbow and spiral. And then I see the synchronicity as well, because in our Friday's call, as part of our Wyrding Way journey, we spoke a lot about rainbows, because there were like 5 vision boards and all having a rainbow in it. And we were like talking so much how it stands for the bridge between the human world and the divine world, and yeah, it encompasses all colors, and so it's such a beautiful symbolism. And you are wearing your shirt there, right there, and a spiral as well, representing like everything in the universe is like in spirals. Beautiful. I like that.
Yeah. You wanted me to share what I'm doing with my little Baragini symbols. I've got some of them with new backs on. I put deerskin backs on them, and it was really very simple. I just took the symbol and I cut the leather out, and then I put a little craft glue just in the middle to hold it, and then I just stitch around the side with it, just a simple running stitch. You can see that one I'm not quite done yet. but it gives them a little bit more strength of body, so I don't feel like they're going to unravel on me.
And what is this? It's deer skin, you said? Is it deer skin? Isn't that
Yes,
very
yes.
thick? How does it feel like to stitch through this very thick skin?
It's not very fine. Deer, the white-tailed deer who are native to where I live, have a very thin.
Okay.
This is a scrap leather I have, but you see, it's very thin, and yet you can take your needle, and the Native American peoples do beadwork. I don't have any here to show you, but they sew it right into the leather. It's very beautiful what they do. Sorry, I got my needle caught on the keyboard. Okay, but it smells so good. It's like, it's, you know, I know not everybody's into, you know, taking of animal lives, but I've had a lot of lifetimes as a Native American, so I just like working with it.
Well, if it's in the natural cycle, if it's from the animals who are in your environment, you really connect with them, and when the time is ready, then the animals naturally want to give to us as well. So this is the whole natural cycle. I think it's only problematic if we are totally disconnected and go to a supermarket where the animals have been like kept like in prison, and it's all this painful hormones. But I think if you're connected to the animal and have a relationship to the animal, and then it's time for the animal to go, or they naturally want to serve us humans as well. So it always has to be carefully looked at. How do you use the energy of the animal? So I suppose you didn't just go and buy it somewhere in the shop, or how did you come to this deer skin?
Well, this one, someone hunted the animal and sold the hide to someone who tanned it, and I bought that hide from them. But in the past, you know, my friends, when they hunt, we take the animal and we do the whole butchering and taking the hide off and making the raw hide. That's how I made my drum that I showed you a while ago, with just working with that. And you take the hide off, and then you cut the meat up and you put it in the freezer, and then you can use the different parts of the animal for food and shelter and all kinds of things, is how the old people used to do it. And I believe in keeping those old ways alive, because you don't always know with the state of the world sometimes what old skills you may need.
That's true. That's
very
true.
important that the ways of our ancestors be. So
yeah, the ways of our ancestors, and also our unique
being, you know,
our unique expression. Like that's why I love art and embroidery, or it's about embodied wisdom. Yeah, because a lot of those things are very spiritual, or they are very logical, very much in the mind. I find it sets it free if I find an expression for it, if it's dancing or arts, creativity, anything about embodying. I think we are here in physical bodies as souls to make those experiences and to make them physical and bringing down to earth. So I think anything which helps us to manifest it and embody it is good practice. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not that you know everything, it's what you know how to do that helps your life.
That's true. And if it's your imagination, like the creative imagination, that's why I like so much the work of the mythologist Michael Meade as well. He speaks in uncertain times even more. What is calling us forth is like to be creators through our imagination. So that's what this yeah, but it's a great opportunity for all of us now in this uncertain times to go inside, to go within, and look what is emerging through our creative powers in each and every one of us. And just when, I mean, for me,
And
just when I thought many times in my life it doesn't go further, it was actually a great gift, because it made me stop and reconsider my path, and to go inside and to really feel into what can I do different. And that's where really creativity is asked forth. And I always feel if I do something in this moment whilst I'm doing, then I'm in this flow and not so much in the head or what am I doing and worry. No, in this flow moment, that's where something new is emerging. Like I receive messages, I receive symbols, I receive signs, and it doesn't have to be like the most extraordinary art or something which you see in the bag, or my embroidery is also not like technically the most the best embroidery in the world, but it doesn't have to be. I think it's about coming into the flow where the body is like, where all chakras are in use, ideally, and not just stuck a lot of times like we do in the head.
I think the hardest thing is to get out of the head and into the heart.
Yeah, and ideally to the heart, and
but
like even like really further down to into the furthest three chakras, root, sacral, solar plexus, and it's really about letting the energy, life energy, flow through all of our as energy centers. Yeah.
And we really have that power of creativity. You know, as women, we know what it is to carry a child, to give birth, and we know what it is to create. You know, we create meals, we create a home, we create a life, we educate, we love, we support. You know, so many times we support and support and support, and people say, you know, people say to me, I don't have time for me, but you create that time. You know, you create that time at the ends of the day when you need it, when your children are asleep or with their dad or something, and that gives you the resources to be a more patient parent, to have the fullness of self, to be able to reach out in any moment and know what your answer has to be for anything that might come up. You know, it's as you say, that fully embodied human being. I think that's the real meaning of being enlightened, being illumined, and it's possible for all of us. We don't have to be a Buddha. No. We don't have to be a Jesus. We just be you. I be me. And we have our own unique specialness, you know.
You're so right, and I think enlightenment means to be in the flow and let the light move through us, and that this enlightenment, as more as we're conscious and just remove the dams or the blockages, that it can flow. This is for me enlightenment in action. Like, and it's not something like people think, oh, then I'm just sitting underneath a tree like Buddha, and then I will be once enlightened, and it's going to stay like this until the rest of the life. No. But all enlightened beings will, all enlightened beings like Buddha, Jesus, from what we know, they still had to live a life and have to try again and again to get into a centered state, to be in the flow, that the life's energy can flow. And this is work, this is part of a human life. Yes. It's an ongoing journey until we die. And
yes. Yes. A friend of mine, he's a very gifted psychic, but he said it well. He said there's 3 moments in our life. There's our birth and our death, and in between is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
like the three Norns. You know, we have our past and we have the future, but really the only power of deciding is right now. The only power of choosing is right now.
Exactly.
And there's so much power in knowing that. And as a woman, I'm taking my power back. I'm taking my power back.
And how do you do that exactly?
Oh, I look at everything in me that used to put others' needs ahead of my own. And I look at my own needs, and I'm not turning selfish, but I'm deciding how I will do that.
Yeah. And it changes probably again and again, doesn't it? It takes listening into your own self, what it is. It's something different. It's flowing, it's changing all the time, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it's very much in the flow, laguz. It's very much in the flow, and it's such a beautiful mythology, living in the tree.
Living in a tree and living as a tree, living through the tree. Yeah, I feel the same. I've been to my favorite tree today again, and it's like really having a relationship with the tree, giving it water and giving something back from me, like the water which I have in my mouth, and give it to the tree, and the tree gives me back. Like, yeah, it's like you can really communicate. So beautiful.
It's wonderful. It's, you know, for all the bitterness going on in America right now, and people are all angry at politicians and not happy with themselves, and it's just a matter of changing perspective. You know, when I step into the perspective of the tree, I'm still, I'm calm, I'm peaceful, and I'm very content. And I don't have to engage my emotional energy with those things that make me sad or angry or furious. I can give attention to it. I can pray that it changes. I can take actions such as I can take to make the changes I want to see in life. And I think we're all responsible to do that. But then we don't have to live in that sadness all the time. We come out of that and we live, and we're aware of the winds and the earth and the waters that nurture us, that flow, that bring us peace, that cleanse bodies. And when we think of our elements, all the 5 elements are inside of our bodies. We know our connection to everything that's around us. Yes. The air I breathe is in, out. The water I drink is in and out. You know, the gifts we give to one another, the ideas we share, the joys we share, the arts we share. This is so important. It's just so important, and it's time is now. It's time is now, really. You know, having more conversations with other women. Some, you know, some are following us, and some are, you know, I'm encouraging to follow us. And they tell me, you know, we've all had experiences when we were small of feeling ashamed, feeling lonely, feeling outside of connection. But the real connection that we first have to make is that connection with our soul. Yes. With ourself, with our unique individuality. We can't exist in isolation. We need other people, but we need to be connected here before we can have a heart connection with anybody else. And it just, you know, it just seems to me such a beautiful metaphor for the weave, because each time the fabric crosses, it's a meeting, right? It's a meeting.
Yes.
I'm we're sewing threads of knowledge. We're sewing threads for being, for understanding, for people to take this message of how beautiful they are, whether they see that in themselves yet or not. It's there to be discovered. I have that here someplace. Here it is. The discoverer.
Discoverers. I thought the discoverers is with the. I thought the discoverers is with the yem tree.
I made two, so he has one and I have one.
Ah, okay.
So I have two of the ravens, so he's going to get my raven. So it's just this. By the time I'm done with these symbols, he'll look like a Christmas tree with ornaments.
Well, why not? It's beautiful. I mean, this is same like we were just talking about this fabric. It's just made up of so many different threads and connections, and it's always just a matter of whether we see those connections starting with us. Like I always love to work with the metaphor, like, am I connected with my unique destiny thread, which is like the soul? And the soul is the bridge to the source, which is like secretly always is a bridge between the body, soul, and spirit. And that's how the whole fabric of life is connected with everything. And the physical realm has got a soul. And it's up to us. Do we see those signs? Do we see these people who come across our path? Like anything which you see around is connected and has got a soul, and never isolated. It's just if we feel isolated, then we cannot see this whole order in the universe. And I know most of my life, up until 3 years ago, I always felt isolated. I didn't see this whole connection of it all, and I felt hurt within myself. I felt abandoned, I felt lost, I felt alienated. So I got a lot of compassion for that. And if then from the outside, such big challenges like the pandemic or losing a job or health issues, if that comes on the top of feeling isolated, then it is not a very nice state at all. So I have got a lot of compassion for that. And the only solution is really finding this connection, why we are here on human earth. Who are we really? What is breathing through us? We are already divine in this very moment. This is such magic in itself. And if we connect to that again and again, and through this secretly connected umbilical cord or through our breath, then we can start like really see with more and more eyes and with more and more senses. Then we really can connect with anything around us, and the life gets magical. But the start is really finding a way within yourself to feel your essence, what is breathing through you this moment again and again. Yeah. This is so important.
Like getting that sense of I am.
And who are you really? What is breathing through you? Who are you really? Who are you really? You're not this body. You're not your personality. And again, feeling into this. And that's just the beginning of our true essence. And that's like simple, but it's not easy. Simple is that we are all divine because we are being breathed by something bigger than us, our bodies. But what is not easy a lot of times, what comes up then is like all these worries and uncertainties, pains, but this is part of it. And I think it's easier if we find something like creative expression or movement, gardening, something to do to stay in the flow, to also go with these difficult emotions which are gonna come up. And it's normal if they come up, because they come up with all of us, and it's normal that they come up. We physical beings, we are also not part of the big conscious and spirit. We are sometimes feel separated, especially when we have got these difficult emotions. It's very normal. So I like to encourage anybody, like, it's, yeah, it's natural.
We'll listen to, you know.
I didn't hear that so very well, Susan.
It is. Speak out. We'll listen. You know, we have our Facebook pages, you know, if you want to reach out and be part of our, you know, our uplifting message here, you know, it's okay, because we've both walked in the shadow of abandonment, and we've both walked in the shadow of isolation, and we've both walked in the shadow of anger and despair and problem solving. And, you know, you've been on the edge sometimes of whether you're going to keep your home or not. And your parents are dying, or whatever is, you know, all of those very human emotions. We have experienced those, you know. We know what it's like to drive a school bus. We know what it's like to teach our children. We know what it's like to have to let go of something you longed to hang on to. You know, it's all human. It's all human. And we, you know, come on here and people say that we're so full of joy, and we are, because we've learned to step into those emotions and accept them as part of our experience. And I think sometimes the acceptance is the hard. I have another friend, she's also in Renee's WIN group, but her name is Bridget Hopkins, and she told me one time, this is very, very good for me, because I would put emotions off until I had time to deal with them. She said, why put it off? Step into it and intensify it. So that's what I did. And you know what? It popped and it went away. So if you're stuck in some of these, you know, raw emotions, and you don't always know where they're coming from, because we are living in uncertain times, just step into it fully and embrace it and try it, and it will loosen its hold on you, and then you will be more rational about finding a way to solve a problem, if that's what you're upset about. Or just for some of us, it's just old emotions coming up that have to be processed and gone. You know, it's all part of being human. I think Erica said it very well, and I've just had my own rant.
Well, you said that also very well as well. And this distinction, I think, is very important. We come to Earth alone and we live alone, and the connection to our essence is also an act of unity. It's not being alone. It's an experience of connection with soul and spirit, which feels like, wow, very orgasmic and orgasmic. It's beautiful. But it's something different if we go to these human emotions of pain and anxiety, which don't feel good. And then it's very important to connect with other people and to speak about it, and to really not be alone in this moment. I find it even dangerous. And it's like an invitation to anybody who's listening to us, who feel drawn to us. Please connect to me anytime and I will respond, because in those times of isolation, we need each other, and that we are not alone in this. And so definitely everybody's welcome to contact me, and I'm sure you as well, Susan, and our wonderful groups and networks, and that's why we are there for each other. And we're in all this together. We're all humans. And it surprises me sometimes when we share it, that other people have gone through the same or feeling very similar. And just alone to sharing so much of own medicine and own answers and healing powers comes to the surface, just alone to sharing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And eventually, you know, the weave brings us to people who are like-minded. You know, that's why Erica and I are here today. We're at opposite sides of the world. She's in Berlin and I'm in upstate New York in
Oh, no,
America,
not in Berlin.
we just hit it off, you know.
I'm in Saarbrücken, actually, by the French border, but I'm always saying Berlin time. That's why they say, like, in German time, we say a lot of time Berlin time, but it's in Saarbrücken, much smaller than Berlin.
But it's just beautiful. You're all the way over in Europe and I'm all the way over here in the New World, and yet we have, you know, our likeness of mind is just amazing. And your class is full of women from 9 countries, and she's got people coming together, and there's just so much coming together.
Yes.
Even though we're far apart.
And that gives me so much happiness and satisfaction, because that's what I was also always missing when I felt isolated and alienated, coming from different cultural backgrounds and everything. And nowadays, with the help of technology and by sharing our feelings, our gifts, we attract the people all across the globe. And for me, it's literally like holding those different threads. And sometimes you pull on there and you pull on there, and it doesn't really matter where we are. What matters is that we come together and share and commit ourselves to travel together. And yeah, it's such a blessing. It's beautiful.
It is. Yeah. It is. It really is. It's a funny thing to me. When I was a child, and I did not fit in with the kids in school because I was weird. How little did I know they were right.
Welcome in the club. Well, like I'm saying in my program, from weird to weirding. Weird is isolation and being alienated. To weirding is conscious weaving. Beautiful. So there we are. Again, speaking the same language again.
You just need a needle. I'm holding a needle.
Yes, I've got my needle. I've got a needle here, the golden thread. At the moment, it's for me, it's a golden thread.
Golden thread out later, but it's just, I love our synchronicity. I love our metaphors. You know, I love that this Norse tradition, this Teutonic tradition, is so full of stories, and they all apply to some aspect of life.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. That's why there are such an internal wisdom in them. Yeah. Susan, so beautiful. Have you got any words for the week?
I was just thinking of that. Surprise, surprise.
Yes, I'm coming.
Thinking of word.
Ja, ich komme.
Okay. I'm just going to pull some off my head. Pragmatic.
Pragmatic.
Purposeful.
What was the second one?
Purposeful.
Purposeful. Pragmatic and purposeful.
You come up with the next one.
Well, for me, it's embodied wisdom.
Okay, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. My
pragmatic
is in my purpose. And embodied wisdom is in the doing of it.
Yes.
And you're pushing yourself to your first course, which is going beautifully, and pragmatic and purposeful are embodied in the doing of it. Embodied wisdom.
Yeah. So here we go with those 3 words. Got something to travel with this week as well. Pragmatic, purposeful, and embodied wisdom. Thank you. Plagadario.
Thank you.
Many blessings.
Thank you. Plagadario. We'll see you next week.
Yes, and have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
You too.